I always tell anybody that goes into business, no guts, no glory. People used to say, let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages. Now it's when people let their fingers do the walking, it's on Google. So stop using Gmail and Yahoo and Hotmail. Get yourself a domain name.
Today's guest is Alan Kopelman, CEO and co-founder of Nationwide Payment Systems. With over 20 years in the payments industry, Alan helps businesses save money, scale smarter, and streamline how they get paid with cutting-edge tech and strategic support.
You're increasing your cash flow. That's going to enable you to have more time. You invest in a good software program that's keeping track of your inventory. There's a lot of, things. 12 months they were in business. He told me they doubled the size of their company because they weren't chasing all these people down for.
Hey, everyone out there. My name is Alan, CEO of FreeCashflow.io, and welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to uncover the secret behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. The goal? To help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today on the show, we're joined by a true trailblazer in the world of fintech and business strategy. Meet Alan Kopelman, CEO of Nationwide Payment Systems, known across the industry as the merchant account maverick. With decades of experiences helping business navigate the complex world of payments, Alan is a powerhouse when it comes to cutting through the noise and delivering real solutions for merchants big and small. But he doesn't stop there. He's also the host of the B2B Vault Biz to Biz podcast, where he shares insights on business, technologies, and entrepreneurship with the same clarity, confidence, and candor has made him a trusted voice in this space. If you're ready to demystify merchant services, explore the future of payments, and get expert level knowledge from someone who's seen it all, this is the episode for you. Please welcome the one and only Alan Kopelman. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alan. Alan and Alan today.
Yeah, that'll make it less confusing, right, on this episode. Alan, can you share a little bit more about your background, really what inspired you to start your business?
So earlier in my life, I was a chef and a food and beverage director in the hotel industry. I owned a restaurant. And then I got out of that business about 25 years ago, dabbled around in consulting, and went to work for a payments company. And after a couple of years, started my own company in 2001. And kind of the drive for that is teaching business owners really how to not just get a merchant account, but how to keep your merchant account, how to keep it open, how to navigate like technology. So, technology used to change a little bit each year when I first started in this business. Now technology is moving so fast, and there's so much that you can do with technology that that's one of the things that I really enjoy about what I do is like teaching people about the technology that's out there and how they can use that technology to save their business money, save themselves time, and save yourself from headaches too.
I would love to save myself on all those three things that you just named, Alan. Listeners out there love hearing about the beginning, right? What does it take to become who you are today, which is a very successful entrepreneur? Is there any pivotal moments when you first got going that said, if I didn't overcome these few things, I wouldn't be where I am right now?
A few things people, I always tell anybody that goes into business, no guts, no glory. So, there were times in the beginning where, I had to pay my employees and I didn't pay myself. And you got to be prepared for that. And that, didn't happen too often, but it happened because of cash flow issues. So you need to really be prepared for things like that, because that can just ruin your day, ruin a week, ruin your life sometimes. The other thing is a lot of people don't realize this, but like answer your phone, just answering your phone and making sure that you're available, especially today. You have a cell phone, people can text you, they can WhatsApp you, you want to make sure like you're keeping in touch with your clients. And you have to do, and I always tell people, if you want to, no matter what kind of business you're in, you need to you have to put money back into your business. And what does that mean? That means like stop using Gmail and Yahoo and Hotmail and get yourself a domain name. You know, even if you don't need a website necessarily for your business, you know, every business should have a website. What and it could be simple, one page, has your info on there, has your phone number, has your email address, tells what you do, and have a professional email address. Because if as you're growing your business, you want people to take you seriously. So that's one super important thing that you need to do. It's important. You have to, and also have a good LinkedIn presence. And then, it matters what kind of business you're in to, have, social media handles, have a professional looking LinkedIn profile. All of those things can help you land business because when you go to talk to somebody, I used to say, you'll laugh because Alan's young, so he's not going to get this, but people used to say, let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages. Somebody young's going to go, yellow pages, what's that? Right. Uh, Now it's when people let their fingers do the walking, it's on Google. So they're going to punch in your name, your company name, and they're going to look to see what they can find out about you. So you want to show people like what you're all about. So it's important to, invest in your business.
Yeah, communication is key. And Alan, people have it good these days, right? Back in the day, you have to take this big, huge, heavy book, look through it alphabetically for the business you're trying to look up, right? And then like, oh, I
Yeah.
think it's this one. Hope the number work. Hope it's the right address. And they didn't change address by the time this book got published, right? Now they have up to the minute information on everything that they want to know, right? It's so much different, the landscape
Yeah. They're going to
nowadays.
see everything about your company, your Better Business Bureau, everything. So, you want to make sure the information that's out there is good information, not look it up. I mean, I look up a business sometimes. I'm like, there is no business information. Do you guys have a website? No. I mean, the bank is not going to, you can literally like today buy a domain name on GoDaddy, right? And then in like 10, punching in some basic information, their AI can make you a whole website, a
Mm,
one-page website, and literally like 15 minutes, you're done and it's published to the internet. I mean, it's crazy, but we have to watch out for those because a lot of people are doing that and they're scammers with fake businesses. So
definitely.
you
See,
definitely, you got to invest in your business.
yeah, obviously I'm guilty of that, Alan, right? I am very much in that millennial group that's like afraid to pick up the phone because there's just so many scammers out there. Like half the calls I get are voicemails from like maybe AI generated voices saying, hey, you owe us money, or you got put in collections, right? Call us back, or this is the social security, right? Trying to get it. So for us, we're like, well, I feel like I'm more trusting if you send me an email or a LinkedIn message, right? And over something
Right.
over the phone. But I understand how important it is to make sure you pick up the phone also at times, right? The client's
Well,
calling you. That might be the only way of communicating with you.
yeah, they might, you answer your phone. If it's a scammer, you got that scam block app in the phone. You hit it and their number's blocked and you're
Yeah,
done.
yeah. I usually like the voicemail take over there. So, Alan, you've been called the merchant account maverick. What's the kind of like biggest misconception that you've heard from business owners about payment?
A lot of younger people, they run to like Stripe, Square, PayPal, and then they find themselves in a pickle or they're in a business that those companies don't support. And then they find out quickly, they're like, oh, I got turned off. Oh, I got declined. And that's because they don't understand that. Well, that's one, they don't do any reading. So they don't read the terms and conditions, or they don't look up the prohibited business types. And, a lot of people have problem getting a bank account. So let's say you're going to open a CBD store. Just make your corporation like Allen CEO Inc., right? Instead of Allen CBD hemp farm, hemp store, right? And you go into the bank and the bank's like, no, we're not giving you a bank account. And then you end up going to like 10 banks and nobody wants to give you a bank account. You don't, your corporate name doesn't have to be the same as your DBA name. And when you're applying for a merchant account, they look at everything. They look at your personal credit, they look at your business, they look at your website. So you're basically you have to make a good presentation. It's like going into the bank and you're going to get a mortgage or a car loan. They're they're going to look at everything about you. When you get a mortgage, they look at everything. So when you get a
Definitely.
car loan, still they run your credit and all that. So, as a business owner, you need to make sure like, oh, I have good credit. I have, strong, keep books. I mean, I've met a lot of people and they don't even do bookkeeping. I'm like, it's
We met plenty
that
of
was
those
one
too.
skill. My brothers are accountants and my brother sat me down. He's like, look, you have to have QuickBooks and you need to learn how to use it, even if you just have your bank and your credit card flowing in there and you do everything and you make it, this way you have books. You have to have books, learn how to do basic bookkeeping. That's like a super important skill that everybody needs to have, because one thing you don't want to do is assign that to an employee and then they have access to your banking. And that could one day be all of a sudden you could find money missing because you gave somebody too much access. So I always say people do what you inspect, not what you expect.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true, Alan. I mean, you're very fortunate to have a brother that understands accounting and bookkeeping, right? So you can keep it in the family. But for a lot of business out there, they may not have that choice. So they either put it aside or, you know, do it when it's too late, right? When they don't really understand why they're losing money or why they're not profitable in the first place. Well, why if a buyer comes along, they don't want to buy their business, right? Because they don't understand the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And
And
then,
you need to understand like how cash flow works and terms. Like you can't have a business. Like one time I had somebody come to me years ago and they said, I was like, went to their office. I was setting them up with a merchant account. And then I saw like 4 people in a room making phone calls with a big pile of papers. And I said, what's going on? And the guy's like, well, we bill our clients every month and they don't pay. And then we have to call up and then, they're pay for 3 months and they're mailing checks and all that. So I sat him down and I said, listen, you have to put all your clients on credit card processing or ACH where you're auto debiting them every month so
yep.
that you're not doing that.
Hmm.
So once they started doing that, okay, literally they doubled their business the next year, 12 months they were in business. He told me they doubled the size of their company because they weren't chasing all these people down and it was small amounts, anywhere from like 150 to $300 a month for their service. And they weren't chasing those people down anymore. So it's super important to have that plan in place where you're not the bank, you're not financing your customers and you're increasing your cash flow. That that's going to enable you to have more time. So those 4 people that were sitting in that room for a week trying to collect money every month didn't have to do that anymore. They could do other work that was bringing in business rather than chasing after money.
No, absolutely, Alan. We have seen so many clients that has the same exact problem, right? They like their top line looks really good. Their sales number look like they're flying out of the roof. But behind, if you dig into the details, they have large overdue AR balances, right? Like 30 days,
Right.
60 day, 90, 120, that they're constantly putting a huge team behind their chase. And they happen to work in an industry where they're notoriously known to be late payers. So then they're not actually getting enough cash flow to help their burn, right? And it's a growing problem because like you said, they don't have the sage advice that you gave to your customers about switching to auto pay, right? So then they're not always in the chasing game anymore. It's a
And
hard business to be in when you worry about that.
yeah, now I've seen this business like every year is growing, big time. But another thing is like in the B2B payment space, so many businesses that do business like business to business, like construction companies, or they're buying concrete. And then those companies, they're like carrying huge amounts of receivables and they could easily be taking credit card and not accessing like their credit cards, not accessing their line of credit, not using their cash, because your cash is worth money too, right?
Yeah.
And if you're constantly using your profits just to float the bills, you're better off like saying to your customer, hey, pay us by credit card. And, even though it's costing you a little bit of money, in the long run, it's saving you money because you're getting back your time from chasing those people. And also, like I'm sure you've seen this. So a customer owes you for 90 days and they keep placing more orders. You can't stop servicing them because then they're just going to stop paying you.
Right.
So you're caught like in a wedge, right?
Yep.
So it's better to start off with, hey, you can pay us by credit card. We'll give you 15 days, then put it on your credit card. And you can even charge them a small fee doing surcharging or a cash discount. Listen, we have lawyers' offices, CPAs, bookkeepers, people who sell, big equipment too, like dental chairs and all auto parts and all that. And once they do that, they see the value in accepting card as payment because the customer get a lot of people don't realize this. The customer that's buying is getting some benefit too, because they're either getting cash back, miles, points, right? They're getting something out of using that card too. And you're not having to float them your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of time, I don't think, customers are most of the time not being malicious about it, right? They're just saying, hey, I have a bunch of things I have going on. I have a bunch of bills I have to pay. Your invoice probably just sitting at bottom of that pile and I haven't got to it, right? By being
Yeah.
on auto pay, by being auto processed, and you're helping him out because he's like, I didn't want to go and handle this. It's being handled for me. I'm just seeing it on my statements. Like, yes, great. I pay my bill. I wanted to anyway, right? I didn't mean to
Yeah.
for this to be 90-day overstanding in the first place.
Yeah. Instead of like calling them and asking where the check is, like we sell software that does recurring payments. So let's say someone owed you $2,000 and you said to them, hey, how much can you pay me? Well, and you go back to them and you go, okay, can you pay me $200 every week on Monday? Every Monday, I'm going to debit your bank account for $200 or hit your credit card for $200. The customer goes, yes. You go, okay, well, we're going to add another 100 on there to cover whatever. And then you can put it into the software and it automatically charges. The person doesn't feel it so much, right? You're waiting instead of you chasing the person, calling them every 2 weeks to get some money out of them. You're just charging their credit card every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, to segment that, I would love to pick your brain here. Like, what innovation do you think is going to come out in the next few years, like especially in the world of fintech and payment, that's kind of going to change the game, right? Like we talk a lot. We always kind of talk about the AI perspective a bit. How do you think that will influence the way that the payment world and fintech's going to shape out?
I mean, AI is already in the payments world. They're using AI today. When you're applying AI and automation is checking to see, especially against like that you are who you say you are, doing know your customer inquiries. We had a guy come on my podcast recently and they had an AI I always like interviewing people that have like tech stuff. So one of the clients had a product where you put in all your business information and then they spit out for you all the policies that you need to go on your website. And instead of you copy and pasting it and putting into your WordPress or whatever platform you're using, you're able to use like an API key and put it on your website. And then when it gets updated by them, they charge you a yearly fee. And we give our clients like 10% off of that when they use it. And it basically keeps their policies, because you need a privacy policy, terms and conditions, refund policy, a return policy. You need to have
like a shipping policy, right?
ADA policy, GDPR, the list of policies is crazy, right? That you need to have on your website today. So there's, so that keeps it all up to date. So it's really important. Saw another guy who had an AI product that you can install on your website and it enables you to do a FaceTime with somebody with the click of a button.
Wow.
So you could say, oh, you want a demo now? And you hit the button, put in your information, name, phone number, and email. It connects out. And then if they have a few people in their office, somebody hits the button and they could give you a demo immediately without waiting. And it's, using like, AI and automation to connect you to another person. So there's a lot of, things. Payments, payments never changes. I mean, sure, money's going to move faster. It's always moved, it always moves fast. So, you hear about like Fed now, instant payments and things like that. I mean, sure, there's money moving around very quickly and things like that. But I think, the innovation we're seeing with payments is going to be in software. And the reason I say that is now with like coding and AI, and even Open AI just bought some company that's Codex or something, where now you can like write code at the, like insane. Like I was
you don't need to be a programmer
code,
anymore, right? To learn how to
right.
code.
I was talking to this guy and he was telling me about his company, another AI company. He's like, yeah, it used to take us a year to do like a project. He's like, now a project that took us a year and like 10 employees to do. He says, now we have 2 people doing it and it's taken them like a month or 2 because
crazy.
the AI can write all this. They tell it what to do. It writes all the code and then the coders go in there and clean it all up. Right. And they can do their job so much faster and they don't need 10, 15 people doing all this coding. And that was evident. I was at a show a week or so ago. And at the show, there were 136 companies exhibiting. Out of the 136 companies, 54% were showing software. Most of those companies were not at that conference last year, payments conference. Now, half of them might not be around next year because maybe they don't have funding, but that's a lot of software and point of sale systems. And, software and point of sale in a business can save a business a ton of money. And a lot of businesses, even today, will switch somebody's software out and they'll have software in there that's 10, 15 years old that's not helping them. It's hindering their business more than helping their business. That's where I talk about like people have to, you invest in a good software program that's keeping track of your inventory, keeping track of the hours people work, keeping track of all your payments. I mean, all of that can help you grow your business. And if you're using it properly, you're getting insights like how to schedule people, how much, what are you can ask it, what are your most popular items? Because all these companies now, they're putting AI into their databases, right? So you can ask it, oh, what was the most popular, what were the 5 most popular items we sold this week? And then you go, okay, well, maybe we need to be selling more of that. Maybe we need to bring the inventory number up. There's a lot you can do with AI. We have another company we do business with, and they put AI into their frequently asked questions. So now you don't have to search through the frequently asked questions and try to find what you want. You just ask it a question, even voice ask on your phone. If you have their app on the phone, you say, how do I add a new item to my menu? And boom, it comes up on the screen with all the steps without searching through and looking for everything, or calling the 800 number. So AI, I think we're going to see a ton of innovation. I don't want to see it turn into a Skynet from like Terminator, right? And take over stuff.
I feel like we might be getting there. I know you mentioned OpenAI has been buying companies, left and right? I think they also bought a hardware company for like, I want to say $6.5 billion. I think from one of the design founders from Apple, right? And that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to start putting OpenAI, ChatGPT's technology into hardware, right? So you could start seeing a butler come to your robot butler come to your door and helping you, take out the garbage, cook meals for you because it has the ability to, right, at some point. So Alan, what the audience really want to know, and especially in today's environment, is how AI is impacting all sorts of industries right now, right? How would you say AI is kind of impacting the payment merchant world?
AI is definitely something I think every payment company should be looking at. And a couple of the companies that we work with have already instituted some AI, which is really working out because they took their knowledge base, uploaded it into an AI chatbot, And now let's say you forgot like how to add an employee to the point of sale system. You can type in how to add an employee instead of calling the help desk, and spending time on the phone. You can just type it in, get the answer, shows you all the steps, what to do, and then you can follow the steps. And I think we're going to, you have to remember, people want it to be to good use. So, coming maybe to your website and then having an AI answer questions could be slightly maybe annoying to some point. Maybe it can answer like a few basic questions and then, like, oh, do you want to talk to somebody? Click here and, talk to somebody. But AI is definitely, and, the other thing that's really interesting is I was reading an article just the other day, and I'm actually going to do a podcast about it later this week, is about generative AI and e-commerce. And I think, that now we're starting to see results. I use ChatGPT mostly, I've used other ones. And when you search in ChatGPT, they're starting to show links in there. So if you say, instead of going on Google and going, oh, what's the best price on headphones, noise canceling to wear on an airplane over the ear, right? It'll go search for you, and then it's going to give you 3 or 4 options and links and tell you the best prices. You can't really get that from Google. You're going to get a list. You're going to have to go visit each one. But on ChatGPT, I think you're going to, and I did an interview with somebody that was an SEO person, and we were talking about SEO, and definitely traffic is going away from Google and going to Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT, which is called OpenAI, and, and other platforms that people are operating. And I think we're going to see this like new kind of shopping experience on, with AI. It's pretty interesting because we've already enabled inside our gateway, we have enabled something called payment links. And now the payment links, you can take a payment link and put a product in it with a picture and a description, and then take that and put it out on social. And I really think like this social selling and AI generative selling, that this is going to be a new thing. And, you hear all these things about like SEO, and then you hear about artificial intelligence optimization, AIO, right?
AI.
Now, I don't know if there's anybody that knows like how to do that, or it's a big ripoff, right? Like someone's going to get, all of a sudden you're going to show up in the ChatGPT search. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Is that going to be money well spent? One thing is on websites, you need to have questions and answers on your website. So if you're building a new website, or you have a website, or you put blogs out, everything should have questions and answers, because that's definitely going to be picked up by the AI, as the AI is looking for answers to questions. So if you answer the right questions, you might show up in the generative AI search. And, Google's going to have to do something, because I haven't seen reports on their revenue, but I can guarantee you their ad revenue is going down. And maybe we're going to see some of these AI search services start to offer advertising, which is interesting.
So the goal, it seems to be that you want nationwide payment systems to appear in an AI response, right?
Of course.
Essentially. Okay.
Well, that's what you want to try to do anyway. Is it going to work? Nobody knows, because the AI is constantly learning, right? So, it's basically asking the right question. Who's the best payment? Give me a list of the 10 best payment processors in my area, or I'm looking for a point of sale system, and how is that going to show up? So we don't know the questions people are going to ask yet, right? So you got to kind of
just answer everything, right? Just answer.
I guess, I don't know. It's like AI, artificial intelligence optimization, or is it answering intelligent optimization, right? because that's what the AI is going to do, is answer your questions.
That's super insightful and really the direction we're moving towards, right? So I think folks out there gotta think about SEO just beyond just what they can do in Google now, because with all these AI engines out there and people are more turning to them for answers, it's the new way of thinking about marketing themselves. Right?
It's definitely a new way to think about marketing. How you're going to show up in there, nobody really knows the answer to that question today.
I'm sure that's going to be a whole new startup trend that's going to be out there, right? It's like, hey,
there's already companies
right? Well,
please selling it already. AIO. Oh, that's your website set up for AIO. And there's companies getting set up to do, generative AI e-commerce also.
That's super fascinating. I need to go find one of these AI or marketing agencies and do a podcast with them, because I would love to get more insight there. Right? Sounds like terrific new term topic.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's just put it that way.
For sure. I want to turn to a little fun question here, right? So looking back on your journey from working the cash registers at your father's store to building nationwide payment systems into what it is today, what's one lesson you wish you could tell your younger self?
Younger self.
Yeah, like you go back, you go get in a time machine today, right? Go back 20, 25 years. What would you tell young Alan there?
What would I tell? If I went back 25 years in the payments business,
yeah,
I probably would have
said the same path, do something differently, pivot in a way, one another, right? You have all this time back, I
think I definitely, one thing was, whenever you have a business, you always have to look at one thing is, the reason for having your business is to have freedom. Okay. So if you take money from people, you give up your freedom, right? So if you have investors, you really you're not have a business anymore. You work for those investors. And that's something that, sure, you could go back and do a, look back and go, well, should I have, found some investor to give us, $3 million and then, went in a different direction. But one thing that I've seen when you're growing your business, like everybody always says, hire fast, or hire right, you try to do that. And then you got to be able to fire fast. So you can't be scared when you're doing things, but you also have to look at when you're growing your business. One of the things that I learned is, as you start to scale up, expenses has to make sense against profits. And you can't be scared of that. You have to really look at that and not make that mistake, because if you're a smaller company, you could have your sales revenue could be going up, but then your expenses are the same and you're just making the same money. So that's never good, And the other thing is, not that I personally made this mistake, but I've seen other people make this mistake, is don't give credit. Don't let people owe you money. Okay. Just don't do that. That's been the destruction of many a business, when we had a division of our company and we gave credit out to somebody that, you would think would pay you, but they got their whole system, they just didn't pay on time, and we just had to cut them off and say, sorry, we can't do business with you anymore. We helped you out during COVID, and, you're not paying your bills on time. And you can't have people owing you money for 3-6 months, because you have to pay your rent, your employees, your bills. And every day that you're not getting paid, you're losing that money. That money's not worth the same money it was worth if they paid it right away. So you really have to think about those things. But I never go back and second guess myself, because I don't want to have an investor and then I work for them. I didn't want to do that in my business, but that's something that people have to wrestle with all the time is with that, how's that going to work?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like you'll go back if you have to, right? Doesn't seem like you want to, right? Tell them that the business doesn't make sense. The expenses have to line up. Don't tie yourself down to any kind of investors that takes away the freedom that you want to gain from owning your own business. And don't let people owe you money because they might not pay you back ever, right?
Exactly. No, that like if you sell somebody something and you keep extending them credit, you can't stop selling them because there's a risk they won't pay you ever. So, but this wasn't that big. And we had we had a few people stick us for a few $1,000, and that'll never happen again because we don't give people. We have somebody now wants to order something from us, and they're like, oh, well, where is it? And I was like, well, you haven't paid yet. They're like, oh, I don't have credit. And we're like, no, because the last time we sold you something a while ago and you didn't pay us on time, and we had to wait like 3 months to get paid. So we're not doing that. If you want this item, here's the invoice, pay your invoice.
Yeah. The one strike rule, right? You let us down once, never again.
Right. You just have to, you just got to be careful with that. I've seen that destroy businesses. So
makes sense, Alan. Yeah. So speaking of expenses, so we're at the financial management side of business, right? So here at Free Cash Flow Agency, we're all about helping folks make sure that their taxes, bookkeeping, and all those things on order to have a long-term business. So Alan, would love to learn what keeps you guys going on the financial management side of your business.
Well, first thing I learned is this is very important. If you're going to start a business, two things you need to realize. Number one, whether you like it or not, you need to be a salesperson. The second thing is you need to learn how to use QuickBooks. Okay. And you need to have somebody sit you down, even if you're doing it really simple, like, oh, you sync your bank account up, you sync your credit card up, you created your chart of accounts, and you keep track of all your money going in and out, right? And that's what you need to do, because you have to know, like, okay, how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, run a report every month and see what's going on. Because as my stepdad used to tell me, money is just numbers on a piece of paper. So either the numbers work or they don't work, right? And one of my favorite sayings is figures don't lie, but liars sure can figure. So you got to understand, when you have to make sure, like, if people are paying you, you're getting paid correctly. When you're spending your money, you're spending your money correctly. And that's kind of like that's just what you have to do, because it's super, super important to keep track of everything. Like, we have a new product that we're now like in launch mode. We've been having customers use it for a long time, and it's basically a sync to QuickBooks Online. So you can take your QuickBooks Online, sync it to our gateway, and then your invoices, your customers, and your items and products come into our gateway, and you use that gateway to send out all your payments and do different things. And then it's all recorded in QuickBooks. So it helps you from doing double entry.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a great tool for all the business owners out there. And then on the tax side of things, Alan, how do you guys handle that for your business? Do you outsource, do it yourself, and any good, exciting write-offs that you have used over the years?
Exciting write-offs? Well,
yeah, I know they're not exciting unless you're getting the money back, right?
Well, if you're doing any research and development, there's definitely taxes for that. You probably need a tax professional to help you file the proper paperwork, because there's money from some states and there's federal funds for that. There's been a lot of funds that people could get their hands on. Like, somebody told me recently, they said, oh, I took $350,000 from the SBA during COVID. And they go, I didn't know how to pay it back. I was like, whoa. That was pretty crazy. So you have to, really understand, like, if you're taking a loan, how much are you expected to pay back every month? When do you have to pay that back? How does the interest work? Is it simple interest? Is there's, how long do you have to pay this money? Because if you're not going to be in business at the end, let's say the loan is for 10 years, you don't expect to be in business 10 years. That could present some problems and legal issues, if you went out of business. So, taxes is, make sure you pay your quarterly taxes, you do it on time. Make sure, I use a payroll company for my payroll, so they take care of the payroll. They take care of paying the payroll taxes. If they make a mistake, they deal with it. If like we have a lot of 1099s, I actually use like an online service because my payroll company wanted way too much money to send out 1099s. I found some place that does it much cheaper, and you don't need to. And the other thing is, you don't have to send 1099 to somebody who has a federal tax ID, because that's their problem to do reporting. You're not required to send them a 1099. You can if you feel like it, but you don't have to. And that's an interesting tax thing that I found out. And, you just have to make sure like that you file, I always like talk, like my accountants, one of the things that like they tell me is like, well, if you get your stuff in by such and such date, then we'll do, we'll give you a discount because everybody waits till the last minute. So I always try to, if someone's giving me a discount, I'm all there. So I try to do it, and if you're doing your QuickBooks every month, right, and you're making good money, hire like a bookkeeper. There's plenty, like the one I have is, she's a retired CPA kind of. She has had kids and she wanted to be home with her kids. So she only wanted to work part-time. So once a month, I send her my stuff. She goes in, cleans everything up in QuickBooks. If there's any little stuff that she needs to clean up for me, she cleans it up. Journal entries, more complicated little things, right? So
absolutely. And it's great to have help like that, right? So it's kind of like you can focusing on running your business and not worry about the little nuances on accounting jargons and journal entries. But it's also great to have a great understanding of the high level, right? What you should be looking at on a monthly basis, as far as your financial metrics, profitability goes. So it seems like you have all that in order, Alan. What would you, what kind of advice would you give to business out there who's, always tinkering on like, hey, I should still do this myself, do all the accounting and bookkeeping work myself versus, outsourcing and having a professional handle that?
Well, I would say definitely you need to if you can afford a few $100s a month, definitely outsource it to a professional. They're going to make sure that it's all correct. If they find anything weird, they're going to tell you, hey, I found this thing. What is it? Right? Oh, I found this transaction. Oh, there's a duplicate transaction. So you don't have messed up books at the end of the year. And you want to make sure, like, you have to do things wisely. Like, I'm very paranoid about anybody having access to the bank. So, when you have to send money out, you have to make sure like you're the one doing that. You don't give access to people to send money. Maybe there needs to be 2-factor authentication, double okaying, whatever it is that you decide to do. But you have to make sure, you're watching keep an eye on your bank account. My bank has this like fraud control thing. So you have till 2:00 in the afternoon to log in. If you see any money coming out of your account, you can actually drop a freeze on it. It's super important. I talk to business owners all the time. They're not checking their bank account every day. They're not looking at check your email. Your bank is going to warn you if they see something is going on. I mean, I know somebody now who's dealing with a frozen bank account for like over a month now and fighting with their bank, and somebody tried to break into their account and they're trying to get it all straightened out. And maybe if they would have caught it when it was actually happening, they wouldn't have that problem, because, you don't want to have your lifeline of your money cut off, because that's going to cut off money coming in and money going out.
Yeah, that's the worst situation for a business owner, right? When they can't receive money coming in, right? I've seen a lot of business owners just shut down for like months at a time when that happens. So you always make sure that's the worst. So that's great advice, Alan. So looking ahead, like what is next for you and your business? Any exciting one product, one announcement you want the audience to focus on?
Well, we're getting ready to launch our webinar series. So we're going to have a webinars, and we're going to be partnering with companies like yours, like accounting companies, bookkeepers, QuickBooks advisors, and they're going to be able to refer people to our new platform, NPS1. And then with that comes the plus version of it, which gives you the sync to QuickBooks. And we think that's going to be a really growing product for us over the next couple of years, because you can link to your QuickBooks seamlessly, pay for less licenses, collect credit card, ACH, Google Pay, Apple Pay, everything. And it does a lot more than just QuickBooks does. Like I said, we have the payment links, the social shopping, the AI shopping, because you're going to be able to take these links and use them for all different types of things so people can buy, singular products from you. I think a lot of businesses don't focus enough on, like, when I see a business, especially one that's been around for years, and they don't have an e-commerce website, you need an e-commerce website, because it's super important for the growth of your business. Because let's say you have like a wholesale food company, and people come there, they don't want to shop, but now you're answering your phone, you're taking their order, writing it down, then somebody's going and picking it all out. Then you have to call the person back. They got to come pick it up. Meanwhile, the person could be ordering this stuff at night. In the morning, you come in, boom, there's 5 orders. Your employees are right on it at 7 a.m. when they come in. And then you're just texting your customer, hey, your order's ready. Boom. So you can run your business a lot more efficiently. People are looking for that. Is if you don't give it to them, they're going to get it from somebody else. So you definitely need to, pick it up when it comes to, and a lot of like small, let's say retail store, let's say small women's boutique. Let's say they want to sell something, but they don't want to put up a whole website. With the product that we have now, they could take a picture of it, put it in a link, put it online, put it on their Facebook, and people could go and buy that shirt or those pants or whatever it is. They could buy it right online and then come to the store and pick it up, making it super convenient. And you don't have to have a full-blown e-commerce website to be doing that. And it's good for nonprofits and all kinds of businesses, like even a church. You could have your donations there, but then let's say you're having a picnic. You want to sell tickets to the picnic. You could be doing it by using those links and not spending a ton of money on building out a shopping cart and all that. So this kind of social selling is going to get big in the next couple of years.
That's amazing. That trend, I think, is going to be ongoing, right, for next decade at least. And yes, you for introducing about NPS1. I think that's going to be a game changer and something we should touch base on, right, after the call too. So Alan, the last question we always ask on this podcast is what we call final advice, right? If you can give one piece of advice to someone just starting out the entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? It can be 1, 2, 3 simple steps, something to get them off their couch and taking action.
Get you off your couch. Well, first of all, no guts, no glory. So you're going to start a business, you got to have guts. And, to get to the glory. And you got to, you have to really think about, like, I'm going to start a business. When somebody tells me they're starting a business and they're not a salesperson, I'm just like, come on, man. Who's going to make those first sales? You have to believe in yourself and get out there and make a sale. And I found that out when I was like 30. I was an executive chef of a hotel, and my boss says to me, hey, you need to go in here with the catering department and go sell these people on what a great chef you are. So they're going to throw their party here. And I was like, what? I said, I'm the chef. No, you got to put on your sales hat. So that's something a lot of people don't realize. They think even if you're in a restaurant or you have a retail store, an ice cream shop, you still you are selling. You're selling yourself. You're selling the experience that people are going to have when they come into your business. That's a big thing. Everybody always talks about the customer experience, right? Same thing for us. We want to have that customer experience. Oh, here's a link. Go fill this out. We'll get your account set up. The same as Stripe does, the same as Square does. We're trying to make it easy for people to do business with us. So you have to think about that, the customer experience, and don't forget about bookkeeping. And you can hire Alan to help you with that.
Oh, thank you. We love that shout. Thank you for that shout out. But yes, so no guts, no glory. Make sure you're always selling, right? Even from day one, believe in yourself and think about the customer experience. And, once you get big enough, don't forget you follow your books, right? If they're in disorder, your business is probably in disorder also. So thanks for the last minute shout out. Yeah, that was fantastic, Alan. I mean, that was such an insightful introduction to the world of payment merchant accounts, and also just some life lessons between. I'm hearing a lot of life lessons that we can quote from this episode. We always want to leave about a minute for our guests to do a little shout out for promotional. Is there anything you want to tell our audience here?
Yes, if you want more information, go to nationwidepaymentsystems.com. You can book an appointment or book a demo. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also have a podcast, B2B Vault. You can follow my podcast, follow Alan's podcast, Alan and Alan today.
Alan.
And, and everybody, Carpe Diem seize the day. I'm a big Indiana Fever fan, so go Fever. Yesterday they won. They really showed out. So that made for a great Sunday, and we're celebrating Fever Day.
Fever Day. I love it. Fantastic, Alan. Thank you so much for joining on the show. I hope to see you in a year, maybe when MPS 1 product is on full blown on fire, and we can get an update from you. How's that sound?
All right. Well, you got to book a demo so we can show you the new platform.
Absolutely. Let's go do that. Everyone,
all right.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you need anything else, we'll leave in the show note below. Peace out.
Peace out.